Thanks again for doing this, Danya. I appreciate it. Um, First off, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you started in the community.
Sure. So my name's Danya Contractor. I'm a licensed professional counselor, so I'm a therapist. And I didn't intend to be a therapist. I definitely didn't set out um, with that as my goal. But I ended up falling kind of into this field or falling in love with it after being involved in mutual aid work. So supporting immigrants who were held in ICE detention facilities in county jails across Ohio. And that was something that I did just because I've always had a interest in doing community work and supporting people. And sure, I was doing that work, or throughout doing that work, I realized I really, really find it fulfilling, and recognize the power in sitting across from somebody and just holding space with them and hearing what they have to say, reflecting back, whatever they're saying or your thoughts or just like just holding space with them. And I realized that I had a lot of the systemic knowledge from kind of having a social justice and community organizing and like my undergrad degree in geography. I realized I had that knowledge and systemic knowledge, but I didn't have this mental health, clinical mental health knowledge. And so I decided to go get a master's, and that's how I got started in therapy. And since then, I have just loved it. And so I know we're probably going to get into it more, so I'll just pause there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's dive into that a little bit more. Tell me about the work that you do in your current role.
So I do, like I said, private practice, which means mostly I see individuals as a counselor for like a whole host of different reasons. A lot of what I do is focusing on neurodiversity and ADHD, autism spectrum, and PTSD, family issues, and family concerns. And so most of what I do is like relational type counseling, where it's highly individualized to whomever is sitting in front of me. Um, the style, I guess, that I would go for is eclectic, pretty integrative, as in I'm not really um, like devoted to one particular style over all the others, but I tend to pull a lot from acceptance and commitment therapy, which is also called ACT. It's a mindfulness based therapy. It is clinically supported for all kinds of different things, from substance use to depression. Um, and it's just wonderful. I love it. And then I also do a lot of somatic interventions, so just really trying to strengthen that connection between brain and body. Since the philosophy I operate from is that they're actually just one, and anytime we end up with that connection a bit severed, there's usually room to kind of rebuild it or maybe build it up a little bit more. And then the last like style, I guess, that I'm kind of getting more into is Gestalt, which is um, really a therapy or a way of being more so that's focused on contact with the present moment, and staying really engaged with each other. So, yeah, so I see folks individually, I see couples or relationships, just relationship counseling. And I would say that I mostly have a focus on lots of people with disabilities, lots of people of color. Honestly, I do see like a ton of women of color who are like late diagnosed with ADHD, which is like something that is very near and dear to my heart because um, that's me too. So, um, yeah, I think I got maybe away from the question. I'm gonna pause,
Mm-hmm.
turn it
Yeah.
back over.
Yeah, you talked about those three approaches that you use. So my question is, how are those like similar? How are those different? And how do those kind of overlap in some ways?
That's such a good question. Thank you for that. I could talk about that forever. So, but I won't. But I would say that mindfulness is like at the center of everything. And I think it has gotten that word has gotten a little bit of a bad rap because it sounds like, okay, breathe, be calm, just and it's like, no, 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 no. Like emotional regulation is important, but like dysregulation, getting excited, getting anxious, getting sad, getting angry are all expected, normal, and good. And so, like, we want to be able to experience all the full range of the human experience. I mean, it's so robust. And we don't want to be at the mercy of our emotions or at the mercy of these things that happen to us. And so, in the way that ACT is kind of around like mindfulness, accepting things, being committed to making the changes that we can, allowing thoughts and feelings to pass by. I find that there's a lot of peace and harmony kind of embedded into ACT. And that therapy really is actually quite closely aligned with like Eastern religions like Buddhism and Confucianism, those philosophies. So, again, really centering mindfulness. And you kind of can't do mindfulness without involving the body. So I do think that's um, how it links with somatic and Gestalt approaches as well, because like sometimes we need to get out of our heads. Sometimes it's a little much, and we need to get out of the head and into the body, and then we can really start to have them holding hands and working together, brain and body supporting each other instead of odds with each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I get what you're saying because I remember in college they taught us to do a mindfulness exercise where it was all about like breathing and kind of meditating or something. And I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what mindfulness was, but the way you explained it, it's much more to it than that.
Totally. Yeah. And that's such a good example too, where like, some like with the best of intentions, right? People will come in and say, like, yeah, let's do mindfulness and we're gonna take deep breaths, we're gonna close our eyes and we're gonna like, and it's like, yeah, but that's not gonna work for everybody. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I get crazy vertigo. I feel like dizzy. Like that's not gonna help me relax. I'm not going to feel safe. And so, I think we kind of have to get creative with it, which I like to do that.
Yeah, what is it that what is it that oftentimes people, because I had professors in the communication classes at my college teach, oh, you have to breathe, oh, you have to do this. What is it that they don't often get when it comes to mindfulness?
Oh yeah. Oh man. I would say that they what they don't get is that they conflate it with calm, peace, like they conflate it with stillness. And that it's meditation and mindfulness is all got to look the same, that it's got to be, I'm sitting, I'm speaking so calmly, I'm breathing like this. And it just doesn't have to be, mindfulness and calm are not the same. And so I do think that's what a lot of folks get wrong about it is that mindfulness can look like a walking meditation where I am walking around my neighborhood and I'm looking at like there's a leaf I really like on that tree. Wow, like you never noticed how good the bricks on that building look. Or like, wait, my feet feel really nice pressing off the pavement. Does it feel as good if I'm in the grass, pressing off the grass? All of that is being present and that's mindful behavior. That's still staying mindful. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like what can be done to sort of change that sort of thinking into a more sort of deeper understanding of mindfulness?
I think we have got to listen to other people and not immediately write off what they think is like my mindfulness practice looks different than yours. So yours is not mindfulness. That wouldn't be mindful for me, right? Like that's not relaxing for me. So like, just to go back to like the eyes closed thing, right? So if I go to a mindfulness workshop that like someone's put on, maybe they're like a yoga instructor, maybe they're a therapist, maybe they're both, who knows? And they're like, all right, everybody's going to close their eyes now. And if I don't want to do that, and if they give me resistance, uh, that's going to be a problem. Eh, I I think like to get a deeper understanding, we've got to be like get around to the fact that this is as individual as like a faith or spiritual belief, right? Like it can be really individual and really personal. And not everybody also has to explain. Like maybe I don't want to talk about why I don't want to sit in a room and close my eyes with a bunch of strangers around, right? Like if you're, in the field of like trauma work, like I am, then like I could think of 10 reasons why somebody might not want to do that and why they might not want to talk about that too. So I think really, to answer your question about deeper understanding is to um, listen to other people and their individual experiences with it.
hmm My next question in all of this is, what impact does your kind of work have on the greater community? In other words, how does doing this work help people sort of be aware of mindfulness and the other things that you do, and just kind of pe people have a more open mind? Because oftentimes, like we discussed, people often think mindfulness is just breathing and all that kind of stuff, but how do we sort of educate people to sort of understand a deeper way of going about mindfulness?
Yeah. So the thing that immediately comes to mind for me is like when I'm working with clients and in my therapy space, then I'm like, listen, like the the first thing we got to do is to kind of knock out the idea that you are less of an authority on mindfulness than anybody else, and that I'm like some more of an authority on it. Because again, like I don't know exactly what's going to make them feel good and mindful and feel present and feel connected to themselves. Most of what I know is what's going to make me feel present, connected to myself, and help me with mindfulness. And then I have like, a huge long list of strategies that they can try and that I'm going to support them in trying and experimenting with. But this like idea that, you know, there's some authority out there on how to do this right is just like it's not it. So I think a big part of that is my work in this community is in my therapist role is very much like trust yourself, like helping people to be able to trust in their own knowledge. And this is kind of where the somatic part comes in, is like if you're up in your head and you're like, a client is like, oh my God, like I don't know if I can trust myself. I have doubts. I'm experiencing like, different symptoms of like depression or anxiety. Like, how am I supposed to trust myself? Then we're like, all right, like let's take it to the body. What do you know from your body? What does your body know? You can kind of tell when something feels right, when something doesn't feel right. And to take it to disability a little bit, obviously, disability is such a diverse experience, but a lot of times the people I work with who have certain disabilities, including like autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, will really struggle with knowing the signs that they're getting dysregulated until it's like, here we are way at the top, super dysregulated, or even a panic disorder, maybe like getting like really dysregulated. Or folks who have like developmental delays or like there's different challenges. And what's going to happen there is like mindfulness in that moment, take a deep breath. Like it's not going to work. And it might look a little weird, but whatever they need to do in that moment, whatever their gut instinct is telling them to do, as long as it's keeping them safe, I'm all for it. So, I think a lot of times our coping skills can look really like, did you do your breathing? Did you journal? Did you do this? And it's like, no, maybe you needed to go scream, close the door of the bathroom and get in there and scream. And like, maybe that's your coping skill. Or maybe it was um, squeezing your fists really, really, really tight and then letting them go. And that's your coping skill.
hmm Yeah, that's a great example. To kind of wrap this up, like how what can people take away from this conversation? How can people sort of I don't want to how can they sort of um like really um what do I want to say? How can they sort of really think about mindfulness in a way that is much more open and much more kind of that there's a lot of dialogue going on because oftentimes when we think about mindfulness, people have like a very narrow view of it. They have a sort of a really basic definition where they think they know about mindfulness, but they don't know quite a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway, if I could sum it up in a way that is like digestible and easy to put into action, is to get curious and to be like unafraid of creativity around mindfulness and to be unafraid of experimenting because like you don't know half the time until you try. So you might as well just try it out and operate under the assumption that mindfulness is for everybody. Like it's truly for everybody. It's not just for people who already like going to yoga and they like to breathe and do whatever. Like it's for all of us. And it's not also just for times of stress. Like it's for the good times too. You know, if you've ever had like some experience that you're like, oh my God, this is so good. Like I want this to last forever. Like the feeling of like total joy. Like that's a time for mindfulness too. You know, that's a time for being present and like absorbing the moment as well. So it's not just a coping skill for bad times. It's really the way of being.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would hope that people kind of take away.
Yeah, no, and also like mindfulness where you get to share it with others. Because I feel like oftentimes social media, you see all these influencers online sh saying you should do this, you should do that. It's just I don't have a I don't have a I'm not an influencer. I don't have a big following because like I feel like our society is so consumed in this influencer like sort of bubble. Like I don't know why.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like this is so on the top of my mind, I think all the time when I'm thinking and talking to folks, you know, especially young people who are like on social media more so, when they're like seeing these things and they're like, oh, like I gotta wake up at 6 a.m. and I gotta like do my morning breathing and mindfulness and I'm doing it alone and it's very stoic and it's like kind of like austere. And I'm like, listen, like if you want to go be a monk, then go be a monk. But like you don't have to. You can also just like go on a walk with your friend or like sit on the porch with your friend and slow down and be mindful together. Or if you want, if slowing down isn't the right pace for you and you guys are like wanting to keep things like high energy, I get it. I'm high energy, but like we can do that mindfully too. You know, I teach dance and movement art like on the side of doing therapy. And for me, that's one of the most mindful and shared experiences ever is to be in a dance class with a bunch of people and we're all moving together. I mean, nobody's thinking about anything else. We're all really much in the moment, connected to our bodies, connected to each other. So, yeah, no wrong way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I just think of my parents' generation, like they were born in the 60s respectively, and they didn't have social media. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So they had a whole different experience and I can even like imagine like sometimes cooking or like doing something with your hands, gardening, all those things that like, you know, a lot of times we'll automate or we'll like kind of say like, listen, I don't want to do that. And like, do I want to cook every night? Absolutely not. But like, there's certain things that used to be the way of life, right? Like for your folks who are your parents' age, like there's no other option. Maybe there wasn't delivery. Maybe you were just gonna have to do it. And so, like, that was yet another opportunity for a little bit of mindfulness. Like, it doesn't even have to be some big, beautiful thing. It's just like yeah, maybe they just had to like, you know, find a way to make cooking dinner that night mindful and like present and stay in the moment
Yeah.
and not be
The,
distracted. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
they didn't have smartphones. They had those, remember those old flip phones that used to come out? Like, and people would just dial and call. Yeah. Those like,
Fully had one.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
crazy times. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
right.